welcome back to the Rossie GA podcast, joined by Seán McDermott to look ahead to Roscommon against Galway in Salt Hill on Sunday in the Connacht Football Semi-Final. Seán, I was chatting to you a couple of weeks ago after the league final defeat. It was a disappointing one. Roscommon bounced back. They did the job in Royce up against London. They won by 19 points, so we couldn't ask for much more. It was a professional job. Galway did a professional job in New York as well, won comfortably there, so it sets up this one. I suppose, first of all, how do you think Roscommon are positioned in going into this game? Because like against London, we did learn a whole pile, and you were saying even to me that you can't nearly win in that situation. So how do you think just even the mindset of the team will be going into this one on Sunday?
I think, Darragh, like I said to you the last day, the London result was, it didn't really matter how it went. Obviously, it was good to put up 226 or whatever we kicked. But as I said to you on the last pod, that all eyes were going to be fixed on Easter Sunday. Very much the same for Galway. The question you asked me is, how do I think we're fixed, and how I think the plan will be? I think it's kind of hard to know where we're at really. And it's amazing I'm saying that to you here. Yet we're promoted back to Division 1. Okay, so like you have to be happy with that. Davy Burke has used a lot of players throughout the league. You can look at that in two ways. You can say it's great, he's building a panel. You can also say, does Davy Burke know his best team? I'm sure David Burke knows his best team. He knows what team he wants on paper, the 15 he'd like to have on paper. But probably throughout the league, he just didn't have that opportunity between Knox and Nichols and what else. And that obviously gave other lads a chance to put up their hand for selection. So I think going into this game, I think Roscommon are quietly poised. The country as a whole probably are expecting Galway to win it. They're favourites in the bookies, which, for me, that's grand. That's the way we want it. So it's just going to be up. It's going to be very, very interesting on Sunday to see how Roscommon come out, what way we're going to line up tactically, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So I think, although it's hard to know, I think within the group, the quality that we have in our squad, I think they'll be quietly confident that they'll be able to get the job done in Salt Hill.
Yeah, because you would have been a part of teams that, I suppose, were written off to an extent that maybe people thought they had an outside chance, but written off, I suppose, to an extent, even with bookmakers and that. Like in the camp, or even you personally, would you be listening to outside noise? It's hard to get away from it. I know people say to block it out, but in terms of, listening to, well, nowadays you have podcasts, you have Twitter, you have Sunday Game, you have radio, you have a bit of everything. Would that come into your mindset at all, that all the talk is about Galway?
Not really. Like again, as you said, there's a lot of platforms out there in relation to looking into games and previewing games. But listen, as a player within a camp, outside noise is irrelevant, and a lot of the lads, albeit they hear it, they don't pass any heat to it. And when you're in that bubble and you're in that environment of a squad and that mentality, I'm sure Davy Burke has them all, hanging there on his every word, and they'll be quietly confident. We were the very same in 17. Obviously, I wasn't involved in 19. I had retired, but talking to Carl, it was the very same in 19. The lads are confident. Obviously, they were very confident going in 19 because they were after defeating Mayo and Castlebar first time in 30-something years. So that was a massive boost going into that kind of final. In 17, we were very much the underdogs, but from start to finish, we really, really dominated that game. And again, it all came down to the mindset and lads being ready for it, and the whole team knowing the game plan inside out and believing in it. And no matter what happens on the day, that they stick to that game plan, stick doing what they know. So yeah, again, outside noise. I know the Roscommon lads this week won't be passing any heat to it. They'll be just solely focused on their job on Sunday.
Yeah, and Salt Hill has to be one of the trickiest places to play football. I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but you can always assure with Salt Hill there'll be wind, rain, a bit of sunshine, a bit of everything thrown in. And I suppose even on Sunday, even the toss in a ground like Salt Hill, in terms of winning the toss or not, in terms of the wind with 2 pointers now. There's been talk as well. Are you nearly as well off actually play with the wind in the second half that you could nearly? It's easier chase a lead than nearly hold on to it with these 2 pointers. What would be even your own thoughts on that? To even play in the elements on Sunday?
Look, that's a difficult one now. I think a lot of people say if you win the toss, you have to go with the elements. The other side of that is maybe going against it might be the right thing to do, because your adrenaline at the start of a game will get you through the first 15 minutes of a game, 20 minutes, and next thing it's nearly half time. Again, Roscommon will have a certain set pattern or a certain system that they will play when they don't have the wind and along when they have the wind. So, I'm sure they'll be ready for that, and they'll have it in their mind what they want to do, whether they win the toss or not. Quite possibly, I think it might be better going against the elements if you won the toss.
Yeah, and I suppose looking in at the matchups, then there's probably a few key players like Brian Stack for us. Obviously, is the key one. Shane Walsh and Comer didn't play against New York, and imagine they'll both start. I suppose Brian Stack, we touched on him the last day. Now, the good news is that he did the warm-up in London. He wasn't named in the squad, but he did the warm-up. That, to me, suggests that Brian Stack will definitely play some part, and I think he'll actually start. How crucial is he? Just even, not just his presence, but just even holding that defence together, and maybe to even go on a Shane Walsh. We imagine that's probably who Brian would be going on if he does start.
Yeah. Listen, he is crucial. He's crucial to Roscommon. No doubt about that. Again, he's crucial. I'd like to see him personally at 3 for us. Now, that mightn't happen. Davey might decide to go with Johnny Mack, who's been there the last few games. And to be fair to John, he's done quite well. I suppose John Mack, what he brings to the game is he has massive physicality. And he's a big presence there. So he might just decide to go with Johnny Mack there. Like John might be, he might be a good matchup, whether it be Comer or someone like that. But again, my reading on the likes of Comer and Walsh is that Comer is extremely physical, right? And I only ever marked Comer once in a challenge game. Earlier, it was maybe 13 or 14 in a challenge game one time. I would never really have been marking him because he would have been too big a man for me anyway, right? But, in watching Damien, he's extremely physical and he wants contact. He is waiting for contact so that he can use his power to spin you or bully you out of the way. So the reality is the type of player that needs to mark Damien Comer is a player that's very much standoffish. And if Comer wins that ball, you're always within arm's length and you're between him and the goal at all times. Let him have it. Don't engage him. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
I think possibly the best game, the best player I would have seen in our time marking Comer would have been Niall McInerney. Niall was done extremely well in him anytime they ever marked him. But again, Niall, extremely intelligent player, great hands, extremely fast, but again, knew not to get involved with him. Sometimes Comer wants that physicality, and that mightn't just be the way to go. And then I suppose on the likes of Shane Walsh, again, Shane Walsh is the type of player that he's got electric pace and a stride, And as we know, Shane is quite a big man. Shane is deceivingly big. He's probably 6'1" easy. And Shane, if you follow Shane too far out the field, he'll lose you coming in very handy. So maybe Roscommon's ploy on Sunday should be, if Shane Walsh wants to touch the ball opposite side of the halfway line, let him touch the ball there all day long. Now, if you're poor choice, you will be making sure that the likes of him wouldn't come past that way. He'd be one of your 3 players holding up there all the time, But the key there is, again, don't get drawn to Shane out the field. Let him have it if he's deep, and maybe meet him at that 2-point arc.
Mm.
So it's just going to be interesting to see who Davy Burke actually goes with on these players, In my own head, I'm not so sure who you go with. Again, you might think in your mind you might have the right matchup, but it might just be a case that after 10 or 15 minutes we have to switch it, and sometimes that switch will work better, but that's okay as long as the lads have that in their mind. I know Ronan Daly didn't feature for us at the weekend in Ruislip, but Ronan Daly is kind of a player that I would definitely look at who is capable of taking the likes of a Shane Walsh. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. Again, I'm not in the know. I don't know how lads are really going to train and who's picked up knocks, who hasn't. But them two matchups are going to be key, as is the matchup on Rob Finnerty. Because Rob Finnerty is again a player who comes on the loop, comes on the end of things. But I think we have plenty of players that if they're up for the game, that they'd be able to match.
Yeah, I'd imagine maybe you probably think maybe Piers Frost has been next in line to maybe take a finish. I'd say he's probably. I think in my own head, I think John McMahon probably matches up with Cromer best just from a physicality point of view, and maybe stack with Shane Walsh. And I suppose the big positive from London, if there was one, was I suppose the form of Ben O'Carroll. He hit 7 points in that one. Look back to his best, and again, look, you have to put the caveat on that it is London, it's Division 14. But if Ben can get a bit of confidence going into this game, he could really have a massive game.
Yeah, listen, we have plenty of forwards that will trouble Galway. There's no doubt about it. I suppose looking at Galway's best man marker is Johnny McGrath, right? Johnny McGrath is a fine player. He's extremely aggressive, very, very tenacious, good on the ball too. So I'd expect the likes of Johnny Maher probably to pick up. I'd imagine it'll be Diarmuid or someone like that, But in a scenario like that, Diarmuid's probably going to have to do maybe the unselfish work on Sunday, and creating the space, and maybe bringing Johnny McGrath away from the goal, bring him out the field a bit, maybe allow Ben O'Carroll to slip inside along with maybe whether it's Kieran or whoever it might be, So look, we have plenty of forwards definitely to trouble Galway, but again, it's going to be about the matchups. The start is key too, like on Sunday. The first 5-10 minutes of the half and the first 5 minutes after half time is also crucial. So yeah, it's going to be intriguing. I'm kind of half hoping that, on Sunday that Roscommon throw something at Galway that Galway aren't expecting. And that is often the thing that catches teams out on the day. Galway will be sitting down doing all the video work on Roscommon. Roscommon will be sitting down doing all the video work on Galway. That's how it's done. But maybe, can we throw something different at them? And as I said to you before, I would love to see us throw India on the edge of the square. Yeah. And go that way. Just throw something totally different at it, and see can the likes of Ben and Diarmuid feed off that, or hopefully maybe a Darragh Craig is fit, or a Conor Cox, or whoever it might be. And again, I'd like to see Kieran at the head of our attack making things happen.
Because the most dangerous ball nearly seems in football now, because a lot of people are going for these 2-pointers, they're dropping short, which is goal chances. So if you have an end at the edge of the square, that might even Kildare the other day, Westmeath, I think, got 2 goals off 2 shots that actually were per point. And
that's right.
The game. So as you said there, even if Enda, whoever's marking, maybe it could be actually maybe a Sean Kelly, I don't know, but if it drags even Sean Kelly into the full back line, you're taking actually Sean Kelly out of it. I think that's what actually Kevin McStay did that time with Lee Keegan and Enda. Enda maybe didn't have the influence in the second half, but Keegan was actually taken out of the game in a way, so it was kind of nullifying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what you're looking for on Sunday, and hopefully, we can the Roscommon men can identify that and get something like that going. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, you mentioned maybe Johnny McGrath going on Diarmuid, that if Johnny McGrath says, we'll say, manages to tie down Diarmuid, it's then you need Ben, you need Enda, you need Kieran. That probably just hasn't happened. That maybe if Diarmuid's off song, who's coming up to nearly replace those scores.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's how it works in any team. You'll have a lad that might have an off day, or that he's tightly marked, and that'll happen. Like, look at Diarmuid might go out and have an absolute stormer on Sunday. He might go out on Sunday, and Johnny McGrath might be like glued to him, and he might just be involved. But it's the unselfish work that Diarmuid will do then for the team. That maybe the unforeseen work that some people in the stand mightn't see, but the team will see. That's the difference. Roll up your sleeves, get down and dirty, and make things happen instead of maybe being the chief scorer. But I suppose maybe just to go away from our forward play, I think the big thing for us on Sunday is going to be how are we going to set up defensively when we lose the kick out or when Galway are on the attack, So like defending the 2-point arc against Galway is going to be vital. And I think it's going to be extremely important for us that our half forward and midfield are in sync on that, So again, it's going to be interesting to see who's lining out for us at 10 and 12. I said it before, I prefer to see two dogs at 10 and 12. That's the type of player I like at 10 and 12. Two lads that, obviously they're all good footballers, but two men that, are going to work their socks off, are able to get up and down the field, will get in tackles, will rush men off that 2-point line, turn teams over, and then start on the counter. So it'll be interesting to see who's in that role. I'd love to see Dylan Rowan in that role. Maybe, I know Cian McKeown is a good scorer, but Cian is also a good worker. Players like that in them roles is going to be vital on Sunday. I think that's going to be a big, big thing for us. How are we going to set up defensively when we don't have the ball?
Midfield is obviously always interesting. I nearly go back to it at the start of the league. Davy Burke picked that. I mean, the half forward line was Shane Killoran, Enda Smith, Ultan Harney. You had midfield was, I think, Keith Doyle, Eddie Nolan, and Shane Canan was in the half back line. Now they're all nearly six midfield type players, and with all the kickouts going along, I'm just interested to see, does Ultan start? Does Killoran start? Maybe, because Galway are a big physical team. You have Conroy, you have Tierney, you have Maher. There's big men out there, and I mean McDade as well. Like, so there's, especially now with all 80-90% of kickouts going long. I mean, all the attacks come from that. If you win it, you're nearly 3-on-3 inside then. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the key. You see, the key is that on the Galway kickout, Roscommon have got to smash it. They cannot allow Galway to catch that clean. If they catch it clean, and it's the same in all the games. If you watch all the championship games to date, they're all high scoring. Everyone is kicking big scores because it's just the nature of the game now with the new rules. Like, look at New York kicked 20 points against Galway. Okay, right. You can't read too much into that, but you have to kick 20 points, right? Again, it's because of the new rules, So the team that wins their own kick out is a threat because they can turn and go. They have the advanced mark and it's open. It's 3-on-3 inside your half. You're hoping your weak side to where the kick out goes will get back quick enough, right, to maybe get back to a 4-on-3 or a 5-on-3 if you're lucky enough to get your half forward and a half back on the opposite side of the kick out back quick enough. So that's going to be very, very interesting. But I think the key is you cannot let Galway catch it clean. It has to be smashed, because once it's smashed and it's on the ground, that ball is live. It's whoever's hungry enough then for the break.
Because this nonsense new midfield mark that they tweaked a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm in favour of most of the rules. I don't know where this idea came from, that if you caught a ball clean, that if you're tackled at all within 4 steps, it's brought up 50 yards. Then you can actually bring it outside the arc. And if we're talking the wind in Salt Hill, most players will be kicking from outside the arc. So, like, if you win 3 or 4 clean in a half, like they could actually equate to 2 points with this new mark.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's why it's vital to not allow anything to be caught clean.
So, from the management point of view as well, it does feel like a big moment, this for the team. Now, we can lose this game, but lose it in a good way. I think the key for Roscommon is maybe last 10 minutes, after 60 minutes, we're in this game. And look, if you lose, you lose. Galway are operating at a very high level, 2 of the last 3 All-Irelands. I suppose the big thing for Roscommon is, of course, we want to win, but you want a big performance as well to go with, with it.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's all about performance. Like, yes, we want to win the game, but you won't win the game unless you have a performance. So the first thing is make sure that the performance is there. Again, you're after making a point that I always make. Make sure you're going down the tunnel at halftime. You're in the game. You're in the game. You're in the game. Come out the second half. 5 minutes after the second half, you're still in the game. 10 minutes, you're still in the game. You bring it down to the last 10. And we're still in the game, and hopefully Roscommon will have rectified where they kind of fell off in the last couple of league games, where they fell away in the last 10 minutes. I'm sure they'll have identified that. And hopefully, if we get to that stage on Sunday, that we're in a position to win it, well then, listen, as Roscommon supporters, we'll be extremely proud, and we know we're good enough then at that stage to go on and win the game.
Yeah, because I suppose, but even though we got promoted, I think it's actually been the performances towards the back end of the league that caused concern. Even though we did get promoted nearly forgotten about somehow. We've done our job to date. We're here in Division 1 as well. So I think it's nearly forgotten about. But the performance became, and you'd be hoping the experienced fellas, Enda, Chairman, Kieran, Brian Stack, hopefully, if he is starting. Because there is still some inexperience there, like the likes of Ben O'Carroll and Rory Fallon and Piers Frost. So there is some inexperience that's nearly forgotten about, probably from the outside, that, some of these players are still only in their second, third year.
Yeah, look, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But listen, the likes of the lads you're after naming there's 3 lads from Bridges who played in All Ireland Club Final, right? Rory Fallon's playing tickets and football there below an NUIG. Listen, it's not going to faze them, And they're 3 players that are well capable. They're well capable. Any of the lads on the Roscommon panel, they're well capable. It's just about, hopefully they come Sunday with a game plan that they all believe in, to the letter of the law. They follow that plan. They don't come away from that, and that the belief is in that dressing room. And if it's there, and they have the work done, and they believe in what they're going out in the field with, we'll be thereabouts.
And the bench is going to play a big part as well. It's a squad game. I don't think Conor Cox came on in London. I don't think Donny Smith came on in London. Darragh Craig hopefully be back on the bench. You have Cathal Heenan there. Like, if, say, 2 or 3 of those come on, you're hoping that they have a big impact and see it home. That's what you want.
That's what you want. Yeah, look, it was great to see Cathal Heenan back on the field in Rossie. Kicked a great 2-pointer. Cathal is a super footballer. All them lads you're after naming, they're all quality footballers. They all have massive ability. And let's hope whoever doesn't start and comes on can add to it. And that's what it's about. It's a panel game. The day of you not getting named in the starting 15 and not starting, that's a thing of the past. It's about the panel. You look at the programme on Sunday and you see the 25 or 6 lads named for Roscommon. Any of them are capable of doing a job. They're all every bit as good as each other. The 15 that might start for a reason, depending on the game plan. We might go with size instead of going with small, pacey players. Who knows? But they're all capable of bringing something to the table on Sunday.
Yeah, finally, prediction. I know head over heart. I say head might be saying Galway, heart for Roscommon. That's my opinion anyways. What are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know. I think that something is telling me that Roscommon are ready for this game on Sunday. I haven't, as I said to you before we came online, I was asking a few questions about, did you hear about this or hear about that? I've heard nothing, which is a great sign. Obviously I'm in the shop in Ballydreen there, and it's all football talk this week, and I've heard nothing from anyone. Again, I've heard nothing. And obviously I'm a past player, and look, I'm not really in touch with the lads like that. And again, you wouldn't be asking questions anyway, but there's no murmurs from the camp, which is a great sign. So hopefully that's a sign that things are going well and that they're fully tuned for Sunday. I think we can win it. Look, I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw game. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna go with the Rossies. I think we could just nick it on Sunday.
That's what I like to hear. Hopefully we'll have a kind of final to look forward to in 2 weeks. Maybe against Leitrim. Maybe Leitrim might upset Mayo on Saturday to make it even a better weekend.
Well, look, God knows. You never know.